ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of the Transitional Champion podcast. I am Nathan Kennedy, here with Dirt. Week 2, Raw Smackdown.
And we're still here. We haven't given up yet.
Here. Yeah, I feel like there's not as much. Granted, we're going to go through the results of both the shows. I feel like there's not as much
excitement.
Well, not only that, but I feel like just
nothing happened.
Yeah. I mean, the crowd for Portland for Raw, it just seems so dead. You could just see the life like gradually just get sucked out of the crowd.
Well, do you expect WWE to hit a home run out of the park every week?
Not anymore.
At one time you did?
Well, you know, maybe 20 years ago.
Huh.
But man, I didn't get time to watch SmackDown, but I did watch the condensed version of Raw. But I read all the results there, and it's funny what they take out of the condensed version.
Okay, so you're watching the Hulu 90-minute version. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay, so you watched half of a 3-hour show from Monday.
Well, I mean, you think about it. I missed maybe an hour because you think like commercials, all that stuff. Raw is probably running about 2.5.
The 90-minute doesn't do commercials?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I think I missed the four-way tag match, the backstage segment with Hawkins and Ryder, the Mojo Rawley, whatever the hell they're doing with him. I don't know. You'll have to run down the show, and I'll be like, yeah, that wasn't on what I watched.
All right. Well, the first thing actually to talk about before we get into any of that is a question that you asked me on Saturday night during your drunk cast for Beyond Retro about AJ Styles and his contract.
Okay.
So I have learned AJ Styles currently has a contract that runs through April. So it at least takes him through WrestleMania. I'm not sure how long after WrestleMania, it lasts, but it at least gets him through WrestleMania. But he normally at this point in the cycle, they're talking about re-signing so that they can make plans for after WrestleMania and they know exactly who's going to be available and whatever and blah, blah, blah. And he has not re-signed for a new contract after April. So he's currently under contract, but he doesn't have a new contract for the next year.
Playing smart.
So here's, from what I've been able to find, it comes down to he wants a Randy Orton contract. And that's how it was described in quotes, a Randy Orton contract. And I don't think that Orton necessarily has anything too particularly special, but Orton has a contract where he doesn't do a lot of live shows, house shows. He does, so many TV tapings a year, and he has to be there for the pay-per-views and whatever, but he doesn't have to do a lot of the live events, and he doesn't have to do a lot of the sports card store opening at the mall. They need someone to go sign autographs. He doesn't have to do that stuff, and he doesn't have to be available for a lot of the morning interviews with Hoda and Kathy Lee Gifford and
I would do that too. Plus, I imagine the bus, that's got to be in there, right? That's got to be part of that.
I don't know if that's. I don't know that that's paid for by WWE.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's more of a thing that they do by themselves. I want to apologize in advance to people if I sound kind of stuffy, but I woke up approximately 15 minutes ago.
You're doing much better than I would be 15 minutes after. I'll give you credit for that.
Yeah. But I don't know. I can you blame them? I mean, think about it. Here, you got AEW. You don't know what they're doing yet. I also read a news reports that they're looking at a major TV deal with.
So the last two that I heard was is actually TBS / TNT, however that's going to work out, is interested in AEW, getting back into the wrestling business, which is funny because they were the ones that had WCW for so long. And the reason why WCW eventually collapsed and was bought out by Vince McMahon was because Turner Networks, after they sold out to AOL Time Warner, AOL Time Warner decided they didn't want wrestling on their networks anymore. So they decided we don't want to have a TV deal with WCW anymore. And Bischoff's investment group that was going to come in and pick it up and relaunch it, everybody backed out because there was no TV deal. With no TV deal, there was no reason to buy WCW. Yeah. So it's funny that they're in the talks. But the other group is Paramount. And Paramount actually owns what used to be, or I don't know if it still is, whatever. They own Spike TV. And I don't know, has Spike TV transitioned into Paramount Network now? Or
I know they changed into something. But
and of course Spike, has a long history going all the way back to the Nashville network with ECW and WWE and TNA. So it's just kind of interesting that they did it, and then they went up, and then they got out of it, and then they got back into it, and then they got out, and now they're looking to get back in.
Well, it's like you think about it. Wrestling is always a steady ratings winner, and even when it's not at the top of its game, it's still pulling in higher numbers than most shows on a week-to-week basis. So I get it, but at the same time, it is funny how they just decided, oh yeah, we don't want wrestling anymore. Oh wait, that actually did really good numbers for our network. Let's try to get the wrestling back. And it's like, okay, so we'll see how that goes. But all
right. Well, anyway,
it's gonna be an interesting next few months with so much talent. Kind of eyeballing it, seeing what's going to happen, and when their contracts expire, if they'll jump ship.
So, getting into now, here's the thing. Also, I only watched Raw and SmackDown. I didn't watch the halftime heat. I didn't watch NXT or 205 Live.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't either. I heard halftime heat was really, really good though.
The funny thing is, I've heard that too, but I also hear that for every single NXT event. People think it's great, and I probably should
consistently great. Yeah,
and I do watch it from time to time. It's just one of those things where to me, I don't know. It's for me, it feels weird to try to watch that compared to watching Major League Wrestling or watching ROH or something, because you know that's their main show and that's where they're putting all that effort into, and it still feels like NXT is the side project. It's where they put the new guys and the guys that they aren't ready to put on TV yet. It doesn't, as much as Triple H is supposedly pushing it, and as much as people say it's great, it just still feels like it's not a real thing.
Yeah, I could understand that. I can see why it would be a turn off to switch over to, especially, and it's worse in the aspect of you see what some of these guys were capable of in NXT, and then they bump them up to the main roster and then don't do anything with them or don't develop their characters more or play to their strengths like NXT did, and it just it's sad to see.
But I will say there is an NXT guy who just got a push, and he's being skyrocketed to the top right now, and he's pretty good, but we'll talk about that.
All
right. So we started out with Stephanie McMahon. That's right. We also mentioned this on the Drunk Cast.
I see. I'm glad that you can boost my memory on this because
you were too drunk to remember.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so Stephanie has decided to get into the storyline, whatever, with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. So she comes out and is talking about Becky Lynch. And one of the things I even mentioned last week when we did this podcast was the commentators mentioned when Becky Lynch left, someone's like, hey, why don't you go see a doctor? And she's like, I'm fine. I can take care of myself. And she drives off. And the commentary team was like, oh, Becky Lynch is refusing to see a doctor. And I said, well, that'll probably play into a storyline. And here it did. So we can see Stephanie is talking about Becky. Becky comes out. The two get into the back and forth. And basically, Stephanie says, if you're not medically cleared by a doctor, we can't let you wrestle. You have to be suspended. Becky Lynch said, you say that again, and I'm not going to be responsible for my actions, which, by the way, is not a legal precedent. So any young people listening to this, if you say to someone, if you're mean to me, I'm going to beat the crap out of you, you can't hold me responsible, that doesn't actually hold up in the court law. But
you know what? I could actually see someone doing that.
But I told him.
Yeah.
I told him I'd do it.
No, that's not how this works.
So anyway, so Stephanie said, are you going to go see a doctor? She said, no. If you don't see a doctor, you're going to be suspended. She said, no. She said, as of right now, you're suspended. So then Becky Lynch attacked her.
That kind of went on for a bit, like just the whole, are you going to go see a doctor? No, I already said, are you sure? You need to go see a doctor. And that went on a little long, but I liked overall kind of how that started out, I guess. But McMahon's on TV. Always a good time.
Well, I mean, you got 3 hours to fill, so you got to make that conversation take a while.
Why not have a wrestling match? I don't know. Anyway,
let's see.
I'll ask you this: did with the way that was portrayed, do you feel like they're kind of going like Stone Cold light with her to a degree in terms of? Hey, you're hurt.
No, not really, because Stephanie and to the same degree Triple H on SmackDown in a similar promo, they're playing themselves as just kind of the responsible person in charge. Like, Stephanie didn't really come across as a heel. Yeah. She wasn't like, you're not good enough. It was, you have to be cleared by a doctor because we run a business.
Yeah.
And so I think it was very clear. And then also, once, Becky punched her and attacked her, she went to put her in the disarmer, but her knee gave out and she had to back off. So they didn't quite want Becky totally destroying her, because then that makes Becky heel.
Yeah.
So they just wanted to give them, basically, they wanted to give them a little bit of toxic masculinity and a little bit of testosterone and have them go at each other for a little bit. I do know the match at WrestleMania with Becky and Ronda Rousey. It's Dave Meltzer said something the other day, how it's never been the idea it would be a one-on-one match. It's always been the idea it'd be a three-way, but he didn't say who the third person was.
You know who it'll be. I think we both have a good idea. I think it'll be Charlotte. I feel like they're going to play it off of, now that she's suspended, they'll either have some workaround at the Elimination Chamber, maybe have a chamber to determine the new number one contender. But I see Charlotte Flair being like that person, and then Becky comes back, boom, I'm healthy, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I would assume that what they'll do is they'll have Charlotte go, hey, she didn't get cleared by a doctor. You have no main event. You need me in that match. So they'll put Charlotte versus Ronda, and then Becky that'll force her to go to the doctor. She gets cleared. She says, it's my match. I'm cleared. So then they'll make it a three-way.
And they'll probably do it in some corny, cheesy way that's just
I mean, maybe they'll do a four corners match, an Elimination Chamber, or maybe it will be an Elimination Chamber women's match, but they're already doing the tag thing. So
yeah.
Or maybe it'll be a Judy Bagwell on a pole match to see who gets to be the number one contender. I don't know.
Yeah, we need another one of those.
Viagra on a pole. Who knows?
So many things on a pole in the year. What, year 2000? It was 2000, right?
2000, 2001, yeah.
Russo took over. Oh, yeah. Boy.
So let's see. They go to commercial. They come back. Becky Lynch is being taken out by the officials. They're taking her out of the building, and Ronda comes up and gets in her face, and she says that she wants Lynch to go see the doctor and recover so that she can beat her ass, and blah 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 blah. And Becky Lynch just basically stood there and took it and didn't really react a whole lot. And I don't know, it was just kind of weird. They wanted to give Ronda Rousey an opportunity to have this face-to-face confrontation, but they wrote a lot of weird dialogue, and it was just really not great.
You can tell a difference between when it was kind of like last week when the stuff's sort of written, and then when you sort of see Rhonda just kind of say her own stuff. Like last week with that face-to-face with her, and she went and said all of that. I'm sure that was a bullet point thing, but that part she pulled off well. Before that was just, it seemed really robotic. You kind of got the same vibes here.
And that's how it is with a lot of people in WWE nowadays. They script so much of it that so much of it sounds bad, but when they let the people just talk, it turns out great. And John Cena is one of the best, worst examples of that, because his promos, they're so cheesy and they're so over the top and they're just so mind-numbing, but they're so scripted and so written out, and there's writers in a room trying to fill out buzzwords and key phrases and whatever. And so it just comes out so phony and terrible, but he does them all the time. And he's unlike some guy like The Rock. They would hand The Rock a script and he'd kind of look at it and he'd toss it aside. He'd go out there and say whatever he wanted.
Or he would
get the bullet points.
Or he would write it on his arm.
Right. Well, but he'd get like the key, fact that you have to get across. But it wasn't scripted word for word. And that's something, honestly, that we used to teach several years ago when I worked with New Midwest Wrestling. We had an academy. We had a school where we taught, guys were being trained to be wrestlers. And I worked with a lot of the guys for promos. And that was one of the things that we taught, is that we would not script out a promo for these guys to go out and recite during a show, and guys who would memorize and go over line for line in their head, we would try to break them out of that and get them to the point where it's like, look, this is your opponent. This is what your match is going to be. This is when it's going to be at. You have to get that across. How you do that is up to you. And we would just run through it the same way you would run through drills, the same way you'd have guys running the ropes over and over, and body slams over and over, and suplexes over and over. You'd have them just cutting promos over and over. And you would go, hey, that sounds too much exactly like what you said yesterday. Change it up, throw in some different words, get a different, feeling. And after a while, guys just really came comfortable. You would just walk out there and start talking.
How about that?
And it really worked well. And I think that was one of the great strengths. So I wish WWE would back off from the scripted stuff so much, but I know why they do it, because they see themselves more as Game of Thrones in a wrestling ring than they see them as being this circus exhibition around wrestling.
They've said it plenty of times before, especially Jim Cornette. Why does Vince feel so ashamed that he is in the wrestling business? Like, just go with what you got, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. I never will. I wish we could. And I feel like maybe once Triple H takes over, we can kind of get that shift, because I do get those older vibes when you go watch the weekly NXT and the takeover shows.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, as much as I agree with you, at the same time, I don't have $1 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
Someone else does, and he runs the wrestling business. So.
True.
So we had Ronda Rousey come out to the ring. She smiled. She high-fived. She was,
which giving that I don't little girl. I don't understand that either. She goes from being mad backstage to coming out and she's all smiles, and
then she gets in the ring and grabs the mic, and the first thing she does is get mad and yell at everybody, "You all boo at me!"
But honestly, that wasn't the worst promo of the night either. As we go on later, I'll tell you which one was. But yeah, she was in there like, "You're all booing me" and everything. And the Riot Squad was already out there, right? Or they were already.
She called them out. She said they were glaring at her. They were glaring at her backstage, and that pissed her off. Just like people were booing and whatever. So
it must have been an edit in the Hulu thing, because to me it was like she was already out there and they were already out there, and she was still promoing.
Yeah. So anyway, she decided to wrestle Sarah Logan right then and there, and they did a pretty quick little 5-minute thing where she just kind of beat her down, and people in the crowd were just kind of like, "Well, we don't want to cheer for Becky Lynch or for Ronda Rousey because she's yelling at us, and we like Becky Lynch, so we kind of have to go for Sarah Logan, but we don't really like her." And they were just kind of like, "Ruby, Riot Squad," and it just kind of died.
Yeah.
So then, let's see what happened. What happened after that? Was there a second match? Or am I making
well, she beat Liv Morgan.
No, first it was Liv. Yeah, you're right. First it was Liv Morgan. First she beat Liv Morgan, and then that was a 1 minute match. And then she said she would take on Sarah Logan. So Sarah Logan came in, and then she beat her in like a 5 minute match. So then I guess if Ruby Riott had actually gotten in and gotten a match, I mean, we went from 1 minute to 5 minutes. So I guess we would have gotten like 10 minutes with Ruby Riott, but nobody really wants to see that. So Ruby Riott backed off and they left, and Ronda came out on top.
Well, it looks like they're building towards Ruby Riott and Rousey potentially at Elimination Chamber.
Maybe, but that's not a match. I'm not a fan of Ruby Riott. I know some people are, but I just don't.
Once again, a thing where great in NXT called up here. She's capable of having great matches, but they haven't really given her the time to showcase that.
So Ruby was asked backstage why she ran away from Ronda, and she said she wasn't. She knew she could beat her, but she had to take care of her friends, and that was more important. And basically BS'd her way out of it. They had Sasha Banks and Bayley, and whoever it was interviewing them. She was like, yeah, Sasha, you're pretty terrible and you keep losing and you're pretty awful. So is this going to make up for that? And so then Alicia Fox and Nikki Cross came out and interrupted them. And they said, you're not going to make it to the Elimination Chamber. We're going to beat you and blah, 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 blah. And so then they set up a match for later that night.
Well, yeah, Nikki Cross was talking about chaos and Alicia Fox was just like, yeah, I'm paired with her because I'm crazy too, right?
Because you would see like Nikki Cross would get like all like raw and weird and blah, blah, and Alicia's just kind of like, huh?
Yeah, just playing with her hat.
Yeah, and I'm weird too.
Yeah.
Oh.
At this point, isn't she like one of the longest tenured female wrestlers in the company? Alicia Fox.
Yeah. And she was dating somebody for a while, and I think that had something to do with it, but I can't remember. And maybe she's married to. I don't remember.
I don't know.
When it comes to Alicia Fox news, I try not to pay a lot of attention. And I say that with love in my heart. We got a 4 corners tag match. We had the Revival, the B Team, the Heavy Machinery, and we had Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado.
Oh yeah, the Lucha House Party.
And then the third guy. Who's the third guy in Lucha House Party?
Kalisto.
Yeah, Kalisto. The guy who used to be somebody.
Yeah, that was weird, right? Kind of out of the blue. It's like former United States champion.
Yeah, well,
that's trivia.
I mean, the same thing happened to Xavier Woods, right? Like 9 out of 10 New Day matches does not have Xavier Woods wrestle.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, so they had this 4-way match, and this was not good. This match fell apart. It was like a 10-minute match, and about, 4 or 5 minutes into it, it's like they forgot what they were doing. They did a moment where Heavy Machinery picked up, I think it was the B Team, and like they were going to throw him out, but like Lucha House Party was supposed to catch him, and Lucha House Party wasn't ready, so they just kind of walked over and just like dumped him over the top rope to the outside. And then like Lucha House Party came running in, or so, I forget. And then they picked him up and they went to throw them outside, but instead they just had him grab onto the ropes and they just flipped him over. Like it looked so bad and so slow. And like Otis from Heavy Machinery, like at one point he picks up somebody over his head and then he just kind of looks around like, what am I supposed to do now? Like I don't know if he was supposed to like throw this person. And whoever was supposed to catch him wasn't ready or whatever. So he just kind of like stood there with this guy over his head and just kind of looked around and then just like dumped him. And it wasn't like he was doing a power thing. It wasn't like a Lex Luger, like, oh, look what I'm doing here. It was just kind of like a, what?
He's like, wait, this is their cue, and didn't just sort of froze for a second.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was not good. And so eventually the Revival won. It looked like Heavy Machinery were about to win, but then B Team came in, broke it up, and Revival ran.
So here we go. They're what, the number 1 contenders now? That's what that was for, right?
Yes, Number one contenders for the tag titles.
Ah, interesting, huh? They're talking about leaving, and all of a sudden they get thrust into this title match. Go figure. You think they'll actually win the belts, or is this still just...
This may be their way out. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're not going to grant you a release now, but do this, little series of matches here, lose out, and then we'll let you go. Maybe it's something along those lines. Or I mean, very well could be, no, we want you to stay here. We'll throw titles at you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's titles are one thing, but creative freedom and being able to have long, lengthy matches and actually show what you got is another to most people. So see how that turns out. I mean, really, though, there's a lot of guys that are like, work rate. I want the time to shine and showcase my abilities, and titles mean nothing to me. And that might be the case for the Revival.
Maybe.
Unless it comes with more money.
I don't know. A lot of these guys, I just don't feel like it's about money.
Yeah.
Because so many guys leave over the dumbest things and take, like, they just do indie jobs and stuff that doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. Oh, speaking of indie jobs, I'm just going to drop this little nugget right here in the middle of the show. Undertaker has like a business, a personal like website, whatever thing, and he removed apparently the WWE references and opened a way to be contacted for independent bookings.
That's okay.
Which is and they just announced or apparently just plugged in the date for Crown Jewel, WWE Crown Jewel. It's going to be like May 3rd, I think it is. So now you would think like Undertaker would be a part of that because he was a big deal of it last time, but I guess not. Maybe he found out, like, he's like, no, we're not making you a part of Crown Jewel this year. Well, am I doing anything at Mania? No, we're probably just going to, all right then, brother, I'm going to go out on my own. And that very well could be it.
The only two shows he cares about because that's how he gets the most money. Man, all right, so I guess I'll ask this. Are there any references to Undertaker on that site, or is it just strictly like, I'm Mark Calloway?
That I don't know. I'm pretty sure it says Undertaker, but it says it as like I have portrayed Undertaker or I played Undertaker or whatever. Okay. Like it's like an actor credit, I think, more than a character driven.
Yeah, he should put his credit from Suburban Commando on there. That would draw some attention to him.
Because that's what he needs to draw attention to himself.
Yeah.
Because he just can't get enough attention as being the Undertaker.
No, man. Play the clip where it's like, you're a dead man, Ramsey.
Like, I wonder if he does take a booking. Like, has he done Undertaker long enough that he can just use the name and he's friends enough with Vince and everybody that they wouldn't? Or would he come out as like, now making his way to the ring, the funeral director?
Or you just go back to being Mean Mark, like he used to be.
I don't think you do that.
I don't know. Can you? Is Undertaker even something that they could have trademarked, because that's an occupation?
Well, they can. I know they can restrict like the Undertaker, and there's a logo, so you can restrict the use of the logo, and you can restrict the use of the Undertaker as it's connected to wrestling events. Like it's a service mark or restricted, usage, that type of thing. Like, obviously there are Undertakers all across the country, and I'm sure if someone was like, we're the Federal Union of Undertakers, they're not going to like come in and be like, oh, you can't say that because we own the character, because there's no like brand confusion that can happen there. But yeah, I think technically there should be something to stop him from just showing up at like an ROH taping and being like the Undertaker. But maybe he's worked out a deal like Hulk Hogan where he owns it now. I don't know. It could just be one of those things. Or maybe he's got a deal similar to like what Dwayne Johnson had, where for a long time it was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson appearing in this movie, where maybe he can be Mark the Undertaker Calloway, and he'd be able to still use the name in that sense. But yeah, I don't know. It's
weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If there are any lawyers that happen to listen to this, let us know. All right, so Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, they had a boo-boo session backstage. Zack Ryder spelled his name wrong, trying to explain how they spelled his name wrong last week, which I didn't even notice on the crawl.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that. They had Angle walking out to the ring, and they showed all the people looking kind of sad backstage. You know, you're my hero. Sorry to see you go. You know, whatever.
Why do that beforehand? Why not just let that speak for itself when he goes out there and goes into the speech? Like, I don't know why.
Because that's the hook, though. That was right before commercial. So that was the hook to get you to stay with the show for 3 minutes until it comes.
Like anyone really wanted to by this point anyway.
You know, honestly, though, I mean, as some of the stuff goes on Raw, like, oh, Kurt Angle's coming out next. Yeah, okay. I would be less inclined to turn it off at that point than if they were like, you know, Bailey's Fun Fest is coming up next. So I click, you know.
Ooh, so they gave her own talk show segment kind of thing. You're like,
no,
no. I'm saying, like, hypothetically, it's like, no, okay, I'm done.
It's like whenever they go coming up next, it's The Miz doing hit click. All right, so Kurt Angle comes out and he talks about, you know, how great he was, and he's had a long career, and he won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck, and you know, whatever. He was Hall of Fame, and he was GM, and blah 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 blah. Baron Corbin came out and said, "You should have retired years ago, and you're terrible." And so Angle's like, "Come on, get in the ring, let's have a match." And then Drew McIntyre comes out, and Drew McIntyre, you know, he's like, you know, you were ready to retire, and now you want to fight because you know, you just have this huge ego, and
which makes sense. In the context of what you're watching and what happens, everything McIntyre said, it's like, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. He told everybody to, you know, get their cameras ready, and you know, they would have a match, and the two guys ran down to the ring. He's like, "This is the last time you'll ever see Kurt Angle," and they run down to the ring to attack him, and then Braun Strowman comes out, and so they, you know, fight around for a while, and then Corbin and McIntyre run off into the crowd. And they play Angle's music, and that was that.
I give props to Angle because during that promo, it actually you see his face like quiver and everything, and it looked kind of real to a degree. Of like he realizes his career is winding down, and I imagine this is building to like a retirement match at Mania. That's what I'm kind of getting.
Considering at one point WWE said that he would never wrestle in the ring again because he was so injured. You know, it is something. So anyway, they go to commercial, and then they come back and they announce that it's going to be Angle and Strowman versus McIntyre and Corbin in the main event.
Whew.
And then he also said, "We'll never know if Angle was actually going to come out and retire." Like, I'm pretty sure we know he was coming out to retire, and he got interrupted, and so now he's not. Like, I think that's a given.
Yeah.
But anyway. So they had the Elimination Chamber qualifier match, the greatest match in the history of Raw. They had Sasha Banks and Bayley against Alicia Fox and Nikki Cross. So Sasha Banks is injured. So she cannot wrestle. So they did this match because they wanted to set up for the Chamber, because she's supposed to be okay in time for the Chamber, but she's not okay now. So they basically just had her stand on ringside. The story was, as Bayley and Sasha Banks were coming out to the ring, they were attacked by Alicia Fox and Nikki Cross, but you never saw Sasha getting attacked. You saw Bayley getting attacked, and then they dragged Sasha out from backstage, so she couldn't even take a hit and fall down on the stage with whatever.
Do you know what the injury is? No?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I know before it was like concussions and things had kept her out quite a bit. It sucks because she wants to be there and wrestle.
I just want to shout out real quick. Febmon appeared. A wild Febmon appeared in our chat. And he said he was watching on his TV through YouTube, but then he grabbed his phone so he could hop in the chat.
Right on.
So I'm here, but it's just basically the two of us in the chat at the moment. So anyway, if you got questions or something, Febmon, throw them out there. I'm probably not going to type a lot, but if I see them, we'll bring them up here as we talk. So anyway, they had just basically Bayley take like all the punishment in this match again and again and again and again and again until until Bailey got some sort of like quick
it's like some
roll up.
And also it's like great. Instead of having Alicia Fox take the pin, you're gonna let Nikki Cross, who you just brought up to the brand, way to make her look strong.
Here's the other thing about Nikki Cross that's weird to me, and I really noticed it tonight when she was wrestling. She moves like Abyss. It's the weirdest thing, but as soon as I saw it, I could not unsee it. The way she does the thing where she hunches over and she holds her hands like this a lot, like the way Abyss always did, and he always moved like he was part Frankenstein monster, and he, you know, rah, rah, and she's doing like all of that exact same stuff. It is so weird. I don't understand.
Maybe that was just.
Well, yeah, but like at some point in her training, she was just like, you know, there. Who do you want to emulate? And she was like, Abyss. I'm just gonna pick up on all his moves. Like, you're crazy. Oh, I know who's crazy. Abyss. I'm gonna wrestle like him. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
I guess that would be a decent way to pattern yourself if your main character is being the female in a stable full of supposed crazy characters. I don't know. I get it.
It's just kind of a weird style.
Yeah.
To pick up, but at the same time,
but at least she stands out, I guess.
Yeah, and I was gonna say at the same time we had the Chinese pirate in the Women's Royal Rumble who did that Randy Savage elbow that was fantastic. So, I mean, why not? Like, if you can do it and you can do it well, go ahead and do it, right?
You should watch more NXT, Dirt. Watch more NXT. You see that elbow a lot more if you watch NXT.
Yeah, I don't know. It might get me to, because I still think of how happy I was watching that elbow. Out of all the things on the Royal Rumble.
It's a thing of beauty.
All right. Let's see. There was Apollo Crews backstage. I don't know. He said he's glad that Angle is competing because I don't know. He said something like Kurt Angle's allowed to have a couple bad matches because he's Kurt Angle, which like I didn't understand what that was referring to, but
yeah,
we had okay. So now we finally got Jeff Jarrett in his NWO 2000 gear.
Yeah.
We talked about this the last couple appearances he was doing the Cowboy. This week he came out. They didn't have an NWO T-shirt, so it was just a black T-shirt with the WWE logo on the front, and then on the back it was the logos of all the live shows.
I'm putting a Slapnut shirt. Like, come on.
Yeah, they probably don't have them anymore. Like,
bring it back.
And you know, they probably said, "Why don't you grab one out of your closet?" And he was like, like Karen burned him in the divorce. Like, I don't know what happened to him.
Divorced now.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just coming up with a reason why he wouldn't have his own shirt.
Oh, how awkward that still
Karen,
have to be for Kurt
he might still be married to Karen, but
I'll look it up.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I mean,
that's not his first wife, so we'll go there. We had Jeff Jarrett, Road Dogg. We had Road Dogg come out, and Road Dogg admitted that his belly had gotten bigger.
Yeah, he's kind of terrible out there. I'm not gonna lie.
Jeff Jarrett came out, like I said, in that NWO 2001 gear minus the T-shirt. They sang that country music song that was so god awful, but then Elias.
Hey, he's still married to Karen.
Okay, all right, he's still married. All right,
yeah, that sucked. It sucked then, and it still sucks now. Why are they doing that? I don't know. Why has Road Dogg got to be on TV? Just keep him in the back and making the show.
Well, I mean, it's just fun, you know. It's because however long Jeff Jarrett is going to be doing his thing, probably, you know, for the next 2 weeks or whatever, they'll let him do it and then take him backstage.
I mean, it's nice to see in the aspect of, if you look at that promo when WCW closed and with TNA and everything, never in your wildest dreams did you think Jeff Jarrett would be back. So, you know, now we can hold out hope for CM Punk for the next 20 years.
I guess. All right.
Well,
they had a match with Elias. It was nothing really incredibly special. Jarrett still looked pretty good, though, I have to say. But Elias ended up getting the win, hit him with the drift away, got the pin. Road Dogg attacked Elias. And then Jarrett grabbed the guitar to hit Elias with, and hit him with, like, just the weakest. Like,
because it wasn't a gimmicked guitar.
Yeah, well, I if it wasn't gimmicked, then that was a hard hit. if it was gimmicked, that was the softest hit. And I'm guessing,
because if it was gimmicked, he would have wailed away. That's his thing, right?
And I wonder if maybe there's a mix-up. Like maybe like, oh, we don't have a gimmicked one here. Take this one, and then it was gimmicked, and so then he hit it, and he was like, "Oh, you guys told me it wasn't gimmicked." So I don't know, but anyway. By the way, Fedmon says my background is way cooler than Nathan's.
What does he mean? You mean
my
like
background? My like I have all the stuff back.
Oh. I thought Fedmon was referring to himself. I was like, I don't know what's in his background, but yes, you definitely, especially with WrestleMania, the arcade game playing on that Phantom machine behind
you. That is correct.
Like,
so,
you had Superstars on there last on episode 1. You had Superstars playing on there.
Maybe, I don't know. I've got like 5,000 games on there, so I switch it every once in a while.
Right.
All right. So we had Dana Brooke apologizing to Natalya for being mean to her last week, but Natalya had her hair down and underneath she had her AirPods in, which, by the way, they did not fall out. I don't know if you've heard, but AirPods, they don't fall out. So Dana Brooke got mad at Natalya and said that, fine, if you're not going to listen to me, then we'll clear this in the ring or whatever. And they set up for some dumb match, and she left, and Natalya took out her AirPods. Like, what? Someone was talking? Which, and like, it's not like you don't see like this big shape moving next to you, you know, or shadows on the wall or any of that stuff. But and Nathan, Fedmon says you need to have some wrestling toys or posters in the background.
Oh wait, I guess I could just hold this up. My beefcake figure from yeah, I know, right? That was the thing, because on Beyond Retro, Joe put Brutus Beefcake on his WrestleMania card, and I was like, why the hell did you do that? Beefcake is terrible. So Beefcake sucks, but anytime I find a Beefcake figure, I'm just gonna
Does that mask come off?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, okay.
You can see his nice terrible face.
I just
put the mask on, so I don't have to.
His pre-car accident plastic surgery face.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man. What a.
All right. We got notification. Ric Flair is going to be on Raw in 3 weeks in Atlanta for his birthday bash.
Oh yeah, his 70th birthday.
So I bet Ric Flair is going to take a bump that night.
Maybe he'll come out of retirement and have a match at Mania.
He'll be announced for the main event. It'll be him versus Brock Lesnar. Let's see. They had
and then he'll win the title, so he can be a 17-time champion, and then Cena will have to once again win the title to tie that. They can put that towards something else, and then we'll just hold on to nostalgia, not push our talent that we have now, and then when the Rumble will come around again, we'll be like, yeah, there wasn't any star power in there.
Maybe they'll announce Ric Flair now for the Royal Rumble next year so that he can do a year of training and getting in shape as an exclusive program on the WWE Network.
And then somehow the title will be vacated, and then the whole story will be like, he did it once, can he do it again?
Maybe he'll be number 1, first guy out in the Rumble.
Yeah, because he was, number 3 when he won it in 92?
I guess. So he's got to do better.
Yeah, all right. If anyone from WWE is watching, give us a call or write your shows.
All right. We had Finn Balor coming out and talking about whatever he wants to talk about because he's Finn Balor. Lashley with Lio Rush came out.
Here we go.
We got some jaw-jacking back and forth, and Lashley basically said, no, you don't get to fight me. You're fighting Lio Rush. You got to prove that you're good, Duff, whatever.
And your Lashley promo was better than Lashley's promo. It makes sense why Lio Rush is out there being his mouthpiece, because Bobby Lashley could not get 3 words out per sentence without flubbing something. It was bad.
Yeah, and it's like that's why you get a guy to talk for you, and then you didn't use the guy talking for you. That's a problem. So they had a match, and it was nothing great. Yeah. I mean, Lio Rush is okay. Like, you can definitely tell that he's got some talent, but there was nothing really in this match.
Yeah, they didn't give him enough time to really like showcase anything. It was just sort of there. It existed.
So then Lashley tried to run in the ring afterwards, but Balor bailed, and then that was that. They had Paige come out, and she plugged her movie, and there you
Which
go.
the crowd popped for. They were excited, like, what's Paige doing here? Oh, she's plugging her movie. All right, well.
Yeah. And actually, I have to say, honestly, when I first heard about the movie, I didn't care. And when they showed it like 6 months ago, I didn't care. And then they showed it like 3 months ago, and I didn't care. And then I saw the commercial at the Rumble, and I saw that it was written and directed by Stephen Merchant, and I'm like, okay, now I'll probably see it.
I think they just wore you down.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I'll pay to see it in the theater.
Right.
But I will at some point watch it. I'll put it that way.
That makes sense. We
came back and we had Alexa Bliss doing her stage promo thing, and she brought out EC3, which, look, I liked EC3 in Impact. I thought he was a good talent. He could definitely work the microphone. He was a fun character. I was shocked, absolutely shocked, that WWE kept him as EC3, considering the C in EC3 is Carter, because he was supposed to be related to Dixie Carter, who was the daughter of the owner of TNA, and she ran it into the ground. Yes. Well, she ran it into a tax write-off for Panda Energy.
Yeah.
But so I'm just like blown away that he's actually EC3. Now, they haven't announced what the EC stands for, so they may come out at some point in the future and say it stands for Edward Killebrew or something.
Well, I mean, at this point, they don't like first and last names anyway, because they took away Heavy Machinery, like their full names, and then now it's just Otis and Tucker.
Right. So, I mean, so for now it's just EC3, but still, I thought that was pretty interesting. So then they had Nia Jax and Tamina come out, and they said nobody cares about EC3, nobody cares what show he's going on to, and blah 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 blah. So then Dean Ambrose came out and interrupted, and he said, I've got a million questions for you, EC3. Like, what happened to EC1 and 2, which I thought was a pretty good joke.
Are you a Creed fan?
You look like a Creed fan.
Is he face again? Like, what's going on with that?
No, he's just Dean Ambrose. Like, Dean Ambrose really only has like
wacky and crazy. Yeah.
Right. He's only got the one thing, and you just, however you book him in the match kind of defines who he is. So then EC3 just basically, like, he looked at him like he was going to respond to him, but instead he just walked down to the ring and he got ready for a match. He decked Ambrose and then walked down to the ring. So then they had a match between the two of them, and it was like a couple minutes. It was nothing. EC3 just basically beat the crap out of Dean Ambrose. So EC3 is the first NXT guy that we're seeing on Raw who's being skyrocketed. Like, hey, here's a former WWE champion. Here's a guy who is in one of the hottest groups of all time. Maybe it was a punishment for Ambrose because there's a possibility he may be leaving the company. He's not resigning.
Yeah, I feel like after watching that, he's on his way out. He's done.
And it very well could be, but at least he got his movements in there. Oh, Fedmon is trying to make a joke about the C in EC3, and it looks like the YouTube chat just keeps censoring it and blanking it out.
Okay.
So if you want to guess, it's a 4-letter word, starts with C, and it can also mean chicken. And that's what he's trying to make a joke there. And YouTube chat does not like that. So, all right. And it's a family show, Fedmon. Come on. Let's see. We had Kurt Angle did a little thing backstage. He was talking about how this may be the last time he ever wrestles because he may get too injured and you may never see him again. And, he kissed his wife goodbye and he grabbed his singlet and his boots. He came to the arena, but now he knows he doesn't have to fight alone and whatever. We had Mojo Rawley.
Oh yeah, what's up with this?
Looking in the mirror again. He's always been told to be part of the team. From the NFL to Wall Street to WWE. It's never worked out for him. And he's like, forget the team. It's all about me. So there you're getting a heel turn from Mojo Rawley.
Man, I should not do these things, like coming off of waking up and being like half asleep, because just thinking about this show makes me want to take a nap.
We could give up on the show. We could just stop doing the podcast.
No.
Okay, all right.
I'm thinking about Raw as we're going through. I was like, damn, like that was just things happened. There were matches, but I don't know. It just existed. And we had like we're about to get into the main event, right?
Yeah, and I was gonna say the main event. This was this is one of those moments where, okay, first of all, I'm glad it cuts off at 10 now instead of doing overrun, because this probably would have been a 25-minute match if they had let it do overrun. So at least it was cut to like 15 minutes or 17 minutes, whatever it was, because there's like a commercial break in the middle or whatever. But they this match was again, it was not good. It just kept going, and they kept hitting these moves where it was like in any other match that would have been the go home. But because this is 4 guys in this big tag match, they just, and this is Angle giving his all and whatever. It's like they tried to play it like it's a big pay-per-view main event that you're getting to see on Raw, but it wasn't like the psychology wasn't there. It was just like a lot of big thuds and then guys laying around resting and getting back up and then thuds and whatever. And McIntyre hitting the ankle lock to show that, he can use Kurt's moves against him and, all that kind of stuff. But the big payoff for this, this whole match builds up to Braun Strowman not being the legal man, getting in the ring and attacking, and the match gets thrown out as a DQ. And then they just start brawling outside of the ring, and Angle gets thrown into the steel steps. Strowman came in and he choke slams both guys, and then Strowman and Angle stand there and they're like, "Woo, yeah, we're big and bad," and the show goes off the air.
Man, just imagine being there live and watching that, knowing that you paid money to just see that show.
The one thing that's a possibility is that a lot of times they do dark matches afterwards. So maybe there was a match afterwards, after the show went off the air, that was super great that we don't get to see. To make the people kind of leave happy, because that does happen sometimes.
I doubt it, because Seth Rollins wasn't there at all. He's actually injured, from what I read.
Yep, yeah. He's injured also. So
yeah,
you have that. All right, let's jump to SmackDown, and we've been going. How long have we been going? Oh my gosh, have we been going like an hour already?
Yeah, but I mean, SmackDown's a shorter show, and their segments are a lot longer and not as many matches. So.
Yeah, I'd say the matches tend to go through commercials a lot more. Okay, before we get in, though, to SmackDown proper, they did a promo image for Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan, because that was the main event for the night. Here is the promo image that they sent out. Do you see anything interesting about this image?
Well, one, he's not wearing the new championship.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's not holding the new eco-friendly, or what do you call himself? Eco-warrior belt. It's the old belt, which means either they haven't bothered to take a good photo of the belt.
I'm surprised they do just a terrible Photoshop and just paste it on there.
This is a terrible Photoshop now. I mean, if you get a close look at this picture, he's not holding that belt. That's just a picture of Daniel Bryan that they put a belt on his shoulder, which I can tell you happens a lot in wrestling companies. We've done that.
Yeah, well, I miss the days when they used to have the little where they're moving to do that.
Yeah, the animated little video clip.
They would put there's just a belt just hanging there while Jericho would be doing this. It's just here's the Intercontinental title, and it always stood out. But I also saw a thing that had the Elimination Chamber guys all around, and it was try to explain to a non-wrestling fan which one of these guys is named Jeff. And I'm like, yeah, not wrong. That makes sense.
But yeah, so again, I don't know if they just didn't bother to take a good picture of the belt, or if the belt was a last minute change. Obviously there's some time that went into crafting it, but maybe it was one of those things where, they called the guy, how long is it going to take? It's going to take 2 weeks. All right, fine, let's do it. And then as soon as the belt was ready, they just threw it on TV because it was such a last minute thing that we needed to have this thing, put together and carved and ready for TV, that they never had any opportunities to do any promotional stuff with it. I mean,
they're taking photos all the time of the wrestlers before shows and stuff. Why have they not come up with a new render?
Right. Or the third explanation is just that the belt's not going to last. And so it's just not worth putting in the effort. It's not like the Edge spinner belt that they were stuck with, or the Cena spinner belt. Like when it went to Edge, they were just like, okay, well, now you've got the Cena spinner belt. It's not like the Smoking Skull, Stone Cold belt or the Brahma Bull Rock belt. They made that spinner belt and it stuck forever. Maybe this eco-friendly Eco Warrior belt is only going to last for Daniel Bryan, and it's going to be, until Mania or maybe Elimination Chamber, and then it's gone.
So you're hearing it here first. We're making the bold prediction. Samoa Joe will be your champion at Elimination Chamber.
I'd be fine with that.
I would be too. He deserves it.
I like Samoa Joe a lot, actually. Okay, so anyway, getting into SmackDown, we had Charlotte Flair come down and talk about Becky Lynch.
And I did look. Yeah, she did get that removed.
Yeah, the thing's not on her face, and it's really weird because she's wearing like really dark lipstick and eyeshadow now, and doing the rest of her face really light. That's what she's done since the Rumble. So I think she had it removed, but then she's trying to kind of draw attention away from it by doing this weird makeup thing. So then after a while, she'll change the tones of the makeup, and then it won't be as noticeable. People will have kind of forgotten, maybe. She hoped.
Weird.
Dang it. I accidentally closed the chat. Febmon, I'm sorry. I went to click over to the chat to see what was on there, and I hit the wrong thing, and I just closed it. So anyway, I'll be back in the chat in just a second here. But Charlotte Flair came down to the ring. She talked about Becky Lynch and Stephanie, and she said, hey, she hopes Lynch can get the medical attention she needs, but hey, now I could put myself into WrestleMania. And she does the thing where she points at the sign, and then you start to notice the spotlights are doing like this weird thing, like they're kind of looking at the crowd underneath the sign, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And then Becky Lynch walks out. So apparently the guys doing the spotlights had the cue wrong of when Becky comes out, or Becky had the cue wrong of when she was supposed to walk out. So it's like they turn on the spotlights to go to Becky, and then she's not there. And then the spotlight guys are like, is she coming out over here? What's going on? Oh, there she is. She finally showed up. But Becky shows up, and she does her walk to the ring, and Charlotte's like, hey, not only did you steal my dad's catchphrase by calling yourself the man, but now you're stealing Roman Reigns' entrance by walking through the crowd. And they had security come out and get around the ring, and Becky Lynch hops over the entryway, and hops over the guardrail, and so they jump over the guardrail, and they're like, "Whoa, watch out!" And Becky just like walks past them and walks in the ring, and they all stand around like, "Whoa, don't do that! Don't go!" Like it's like we're not going to touch you, we're not going to get in the way, we're not going to stand in, but we're here. So don't go there. Don't do. And then she did it. And then they look like the biggest group of jackasses.
Why even do that anyway? Yes, she's chosen Ronda, but isn't she still technically part of the SmackDown roster?
Well, but she's suspended. So she's not supposed to be.
Yeah. See, I've already forgotten that part.
Because it's so key.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
All right. So
couldn't they have just done a thing too of like, I guess I bought a ticket. Doesn't that work for most of the other times too? That they would have Cena inside or something. That's kind of what I expected. Like I thought for sure they would say something about her being, like you're not supposed to be here. You're suspended. And I thought she would pick either pull a ticket out of her pocket, or they'd have someone sitting there going, I love you, Becky, take my ticket. And she's like, well, I've got a ticket now, escort this guy out, and they do something along those lines. But instead, no, she's just she jumps and she grabs a microphone and she gets in the ring, and security, and then like a bunch of refs get in the ring, and they're like, whoa, you're not supposed to be here, whoa. But they don't hold her back, they don't get in between them, they just stand there like, whatever. And then we had this other security guy came out, a bald guy with the goatee. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I want to say he's somebody, but I can't think of who he is. Like NXT somebody kind of thing?
No, like a guy who just didn't get over a couple of years ago, and now he's working like as an agent or something. But anyway, what he looked like, honestly, he looked like if you took Goldberg and Gilbert and you needed an in-between step, it was this guy.
Was it Adam? It may have been Adam Pearce.
Maybe. Yeah, that might be right. All right. Oh, Febmon just counted me out because I wasn't in the chat room.
Gotta get back in the ring, man.
Man, I tripped over the ring skirt. I fell face first. Febmon jumps from the turnbuckle, pinning me to the ground. 1, 2, 3, and now he's beating me because I wasn't here to fight back in this chat.
So you're like Titus O'Neil kind of thing. You tripped up on yourself and it cost you the match.
All right. So anyway, so this is, guys, if you're watching this video later, or you're listening to the podcast on iTunes or over on Podbean or wherever you happen to find the MP3, this is what you miss by not being here live. If you want to join us live in the chat room, make sure you go to bit.ly/TC Podcast, capital T, capital C, capital P, TC Podcast. All right.
If you want to beat up dirt in the chat.
In the chat, apparently.
You're
live. So anyway, they're arguing. Triple H comes out. Triple H tells Becky Lynch she has to leave. Becky Lynch makes some crack about Stephanie and how she beat up Stephanie, and Triple H gets in her face, and he basically says, "You're a coward. I now understand." Same thing happened at Survivor Series. You win the opportunity to this match, and then you claim that you're injured, and you're refusing to let a doctor see you, so you're probably not even really hurt, which is true in real life. She's not really hurt. But he's like, you're just doing this to get suspended so you don't actually have to fight. So then that way nobody sees that you're actually a coward and a loser. And, everybody knows that you're a fraud. And so then she ends up slapping him across the face and he gets in her face. And I understand that Triple H is a big guy. And I understand that he's got a beard that he's let grow long, so it makes his face look like a little bigger. But Triple H's face and Becky Lynch's face, I mean, they look like their heads are, like her, and like his head is two of hers. Like he has a humongous melon on his shoulders, burping out of his neck, and she looked normal compared to him.
Steroids.
You can't prove that. You can't. It's not.
You can't. But I don't know. I thought like the wrinkles on the back of the head were a good indicator of such, from what I've heard.
No, it's when you see the pimples in those wrinkles. That's
okay. All right. I thought that promo worked better than hers and Stephanie's did overall.
Meanwhile, Nathan got his pants pulled down from behind by Jasper, revealing his My Little Pony boxers.
Right on. Yeah, Jasper would do that.
Again, that's what you missed by not looking at the chat. All right. Becky Lynch left through the crowd, and that was that. We had Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev versus Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. This was another match that was a match. Oh, here's the thing. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, they're an amazing combo, much like the $5 combo, now available at Popeyes. And then they go to commercial, and they have commercials for everything except Popeyes. And then they come back. And they're in the middle of the match, and they said that R-Truth, he's at home recovering from the attack last week, but he'll be back to take these guys on, which is interesting because I'd totally forgotten about that whole thing. And then it's like, oh yeah, where is R-Truth? He should be.
United States champion? I don't know.
And then they go, Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, they're a great combo, much like the $5 combo, now available at Popeyes.
I actually did have Popeyes on Monday.
I love Popeyes, but it was just so awkwardly forced because you never hear him go like, Charlotte Flair has a bad attitude, much like a bad attitude you have when you're hungry. She should have a Snickers. By the way, Snickers is a sponsor of the Royal Rumble. It's like you never hear them do that, but suddenly it was all over on this thing. And I don't know if this is like a KFC versus Popeyes thing. Like Popeyes saw what they did with KFC last year. So Popeyes was like, hey, we're going to pay you extra. And we want you to just keep talking about us all the time. So then, they fight to the outside, and they're fighting around, and they're bumping into the tables and everything, and they're like, "Man, Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, they really fight well together. They're another great combo, just like the $5 combo now available at Popeyes." And at that point, I was like, "I like Popeyes, but
it's doing its job." I'm
Actually,
like, man.
The problem is I do want to go try the $5 combo at Popeyes now. Because I do like Popeyes.
Just man, when I went, there was as soon as we pulled up, I see a school bus, but everyone's still on it. And I'm like, we got to go in there now, and we got in there luckily, and then like floodgates open. Here come all these high school kids. And I felt so bad for everybody that was working there. I hate it when that happens to them because that's just.
And one thing I will say about Popeyes is I've had my order messed up a fair number of times, but every time I've said, hey, this is missing or this is the wrong thing, then they give you like 2 of whatever to make up for the one they messed up. Like they go above and beyond fixing it. Like McDonald's, you're like, man, these fries are cold. And they look at you and they're like, yeah, they've been in there a while. And like, that's it. You go, I ordered the 2 cheeseburger and I got a McDLT. And they're like, oh.
No, you didn't.
Do you want the 2 cheeseburgers? Like, that's kind of why I brought it up, you know? But at Popeyes, it's like, oh, we were supposed to have another biscuit on here. And they're like, oh, honey, you're supposed to have another biscuit.
Here, take
3 more.
Yeah.
So it's great. And you want some strawberry jam? You want some grape jam? You want some apple butter? You want some country butter? You want some pumpkin spice? You want some no, I'm good, thanks. All right. So then I don't even remember what happened. Oh, so Nakamura like got beat up, and then Rusev went in and got the pin, and then holds his hand down to Nakamura, and Nakamura's kind of looking at him, and you wonder, like, are they gonna like break apart here? Like, hey, you just let me get my ass beat so then you could come in and get the pin. But instead, they shake hands, and Rusev picks him up, and they celebrate, and they're still a team. We went to the back, and we got our next NXT guy who is skyrocketing to the top. We got Mustafa Ali. And I got to tell you, since I have not been watching NXT regularly, I just watch little snippets here and there. I'm not that familiar with Mustafa Ali, but he's good. I don't know if you knew this, but he's good.
No, he's good. And it was actually 205 Live that he was amazing.
Oh, 205 Live, right.
But yeah, no, he's fantastic. I'm kind of surprised that they haven't ruined him by now.
Well, there's still time. But yeah, he had a match with Randy Orton, and he talked about the fact that if he's going to win at the Elimination Chamber, he's got to be able to beat Randy Orton. So tonight is a good night for him to have a test to see what he's capable of, which is a great young babyface type promo to throw out there. It was a great promo. He came across as like this is the good guy you want to cheer for. So I mean that whoever is doing the Mustafa Ali stuff is doing it right.
Yeah.
Like whoever's booking that should be doing the rest of the stuff, not some of the stuff that we hear later that will.
But also at the same point, while they're doing this and building up and fans want to get behind him, you're going to have to let him reach a point where he is going to have to start winning some matches. Otherwise, people are going to be like, this guy's a loser.
Right. But we'll talk about what happened in their match here in a second.
All right.
Because they still, even though it feels like the wrong thing, it's still the right thing. And we'll talk about that. All right. So then we got an Uso penitentiary, and like, okay, whatever. Who cares?
Are they still doing the graphics for that? Like little
no.
Man, are you familiar with that? There was a period of time they would start to talk about that, and during the promo, they would have on screen like the bars come down and make like the slamming noise and say like Uso penitentiary on that.
Is that a dig at Crime Time, or did they just
no,
that's a good idea?
They were doing it was the Usos, and there were a couple other guys on SmackDown. When they would cut their promos, they would say something, and it would be like Pee-wee's Playhouse. Oh, you said the key word. Here comes a graphic, just like in your face. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad they dropped that whole thing though, because that was quite bad.
Again, the Usos should just go back to being Islanders. They should be the Islanders of the 21st century. They should be the Neo Islanders 2.0. And that should be their gimmick, and they should run with it their entire career and just be beloved for that instead of doing this.
Maybe one day.
They come across as like the guy in the documentary on YouTube who's trying to like get someone to listen to his rap demo tape, and he can't get anyone to listen to it, and like they're the guys like throwing business cards through the limo windows that have like the URL for their Spotify. Like, man, listen to our demo tape. Listen to our demo. Like, they come across like those guys, like just so, like just trying way too hard, and the forced chant things, because that's what they did with the Usos penitentiary. It's like they pause, And then they both like in unison, Usos Penitentiary. And you're just like, what is this? Like, stop. Like, this is just terrible.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, they had Randy Orton and Mustafa Ali. They had a match. And, again, Mustafa Ali said that this is, a good training for him. He's going to have to defeat Orton in the Elimination Chamber. So here he's got this chance to face Orton. Orton basically comes out and they play it like Orton is too cocky because this is some new young guy. And they play it where Orton tries to go for some of his bigger moves too early, and Mustafa is able to reverse them. And Mustafa is able to get in some quick stuff that Orton wasn't expecting. So they played that with a lot of the psychology of the match back and forth. They had Ali avoid an RKO, hit a DDT, get a near fall. So he jumps up to the top rope to do his flippy thing. And instead, Randy Orton pops up, grabs his leg, pulls him off the top rope, grabs him in midair, hits him with the RKO, and gets the pin.
Nice. And
first of all, I love when Randy Orton does that. And if you haven't seen the videos on YouTube where they do Randy Orton, they Photoshop him like jumping in and grabbing people and doing the RKO at random. They're great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the RKO out of nowhere videos.
Right. And that's exactly what this was. This was one of those where it was RKO out of nowhere. It was midair. It was beautiful. It was brilliant. But here's the thing. They really made Mustafa Ali look like he could be a threat. And the established guy, Randy Orton, didn't pay him enough heed. He didn't take him seriously. So Mustafa Ali, it's like you get the sense that it was close enough that if they had a rematch, Orton either has to step up his game and give it everything he's got and take this guy as a legit competitor, or Mustafa Ali could have that breakthrough that he needs to beat him. So it's a good psychological building tool going towards the Elimination Chamber match, because now you get the idea that Mustafa Ali, he can go up against these guys. And if they don't take him seriously, there's a good chance he could get over on them. And the way the chamber plays out, if he's the last guy to come out of his pod, then he might be the odds-on guy to win it at that point.
I think that would be the smart thing to do, is to play it off and have him come very close to actually winning it, but falling short. But you also have to build off of that and not just turn him into that guy. It's like, oh, I got real close. I'm going to keep trying real hard for you guys, because that eventually that'll just kill him. That'll kill him.
Because if they take a guy like take Joe, and have say Joe and AJ Styles are like the last two, or the two guys that are left, and then Mustafa Ali is the last guy to get released into those two, and then he defeats those guys, or he defeats one but not the other. So say AJ wins the title, he goes on to WrestleMania, then they could do a feud with Mustafa Ali and Samoa Joe, because they were the two guys that were left before, from the last three. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they could do something like that, where they could have Mustafa Ali come out as the last guy, have him be strong, have him get over on a couple of the veterans. Maybe he goes one-on-one against that last guy. He loses, but then there's a reason for him to have heat with that guy, and they've got a program going forward, and it would keep him there in that top tier of guys, instead of what I'm afraid they're going to do, which is he'll be in the Elimination Chamber match. He'll be like the second, third guy to be released from a pod. He gets beaten up, he gets thrown out, and then the next time you see him, it's for the U.S. title, and nobody cares,
So there you go. That's probably what'll happen. You nailed it.
So Fedmon's like, wait, they're including psychology now? I thought this was wrestling. It's like, yeah, ring psychology is a thing. It exists. They used to do it all the time. Yeah. And now, so whoever is booking Mustafa Ali, like I said, they're doing it right. So the promo is good. The match, even though he lost it, he still looked good in the loss, which sets up for the Elimination Chamber, because it is possible to lose and still look good. And they've done it in wrestling for decades. Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be 1-to-1, get your win back the next week and everything else. So then after the match, Samoa Joe runs out and attacks Orton. And then Joe starts to leave, and Daniel Bryan comes out. And then Joe starts to walk towards Brian, but then Rowan comes out. So then Joe backs off of Ryan, and then they, I think they cut to a commercial or whatever, and then they go backstage, and Joe is talking to Orton, and he's getting in his face, and he's like, for every action, there's a reaction, and I'm going to win that title at Elimination Chamber. And then they snorted at each other, and that was it. They had Daniel Bryan in the ring, and they announced him. He's the favorite son of Washington State. They did the whole Bret Hart in Canada thing. If you remember, Bret Hart would be a heel, but then he'd go to Canada, and he was a face. And then,
I mean, it makes sense.
They would have like Lawler being like, "This is Bizarro World. I don't understand. This is crazy. Canada's weird." They started doing the same thing here with Washington State. He's from Washington State. You knew he was going to get the babyface pop, so they just played it that way. They even had Brian acknowledge, like, all you people here in Washington State, you're smart, you understand, you know what I'm doing. It's the rest of the people, unfortunately, this is the world title. I'm here for the whole planet, and the rest of the people on this planet are idiots. So they played off that whole dynamic and let the people cheer him. But if you're watching at home, he clearly came across as the heel.
Which I'm glad they did it that way. They didn't have him heel it up on his home state. I'm glad that he stuck with that. That was a nice change.
They acknowledge it, as opposed to sometimes they just like ignore them.
Yeah,
let them go. Febmon says, now I have to actually use my brain. I haven't dusted that thing off in years. Does this mean I'm an elbow? I'm not. Your elbow is not dusted. Okay. Anyway, I have no idea what you're talking about. We're going to move on. So anyway, they had Rowan, and he talked about how Daniel Bryan was like Galileo, and he's so smart, and he's too smart for people to understand. And someone in the crowd went, "What?" And Daniel Bryan was like, "Don't you dare start that what chance with Rowan. How dare you?" And I thought at that point we would get 9,000 people doing the whats, because he called it out, because it's the heel thing to do, right? It's like someone makes a noise, makes a chant, you tell them not to do it, so then they do it more, they do it louder.
Yeah.
He was trying to get the crowd to turn against him, and they wouldn't do it. Like, that was it. It just stopped. Like everybody around that guy in the crowd was like, "Dude, knock it off." That's Daniel Bryan. He's got a wood belt. He loves the earth.
I like how you said earth. Makes me think of Independence Day.
So they went to the back, and they went to Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy was talking about how wrong it was for Daniel Bryan to throw the old belt in the trash. And so Hardy said, it's disrespectful, but I'll teach him about respect, and we'll do it in the ring tonight.
This is coming from a guy who in TNA got rid of one belt and had his belt with his face on it. So,
but he didn't throw the old belt in a trash can live on TV like Medusa, right?
Yeah, good time.
You just don't do that. So AJ Styles came in, and he said, "You're not the right person to represent the WWE legacy. You can't defeat Bryan for the title. Hardy promises that he will, and blah 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 blah." And I was hoping there would be some sort of reference here to that, like, are you sure you're going to be able to handle this match? Because I mean, Sting is in WWE. He might appear in the company. Are you sure you're sober enough or something? But they didn't go for that, which I think was a missed opportunity.
Well, I mean, last week when Joe came in and said something, like Jeff was talking, and Joe came down the ramp and said something about an AA meeting. You need to shut up.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, Fedmon says the elbow joke was in reference to your heel and face comments. Your timing is great. The brain joke went off with psychology comment. Okay. So anyway. They had Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville versus Naomi and Carmella and the Iconics.
Bet that was a good match.
They showed the belts. I gotta say that the women's tag belts that they've made here, they look nice. They actually have a good modern design to them.
They don't look like pennies and nickels. Cool.
Yeah, they don't look like that, and they don't look like giant butterfly vaginas like the old Divas did. So, I mean, that's
wasn't it funny how the women's battle royal WrestleMania trophy just looked like a uterus. You know, like who? I imagine Vince was like, yeah, that looks. I love it, and he just gives that belly
Honestly,
laugh.
I think I looked at it and I thought a tuning fork, and I didn't pay much attention to it after that. Now that you mention it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that I should have picked up on that. Now I feel bad. I'm gonna have to get a replica of one of those now and keep it on the show.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Let's see. So this was not good.
And
again, I'm not like Naomi has fans, and I don't know why. No talent Naomi. She's not good on promos.
It's the entrance, man. It's all
she does some gymnast stuff with her entrance, but even like tonight, they had the black lights on, and she wasn't wearing a lot of black light stuff.
Yeah,
so she was just like this blue blob moving through the crowd. It just didn't. I don't know. But the match was not good either. I mean, the match was just like all over the place. Timing was off. Moves looked wrong. They finally had Mandy Rose though. No, wait, that's not. Yeah, Mandy Rose. She hit her move on Naomi, and so Naomi, at least the right person took the fall. Naomi took the pin. They had Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville win, but it was not a good match. And I think part of it was just maybe they had too many people, and they'd want to play up the tag division thing, but
yeah,
I don't know. Whoever, I think Fit Finley is still supposed to be the road agent for the women, and he's got maybe he's softened with age and he's not as hard as he used to be, and maybe that's why he's doing them. But I mean, they need someone to really hit timing. I mean, its timing has got to be on point with these matches, and it's not. They had Zelina Vega and Andrade talking about Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio. Everybody knows Rey Mysterio, and he's like mystique and mysterious. But Andrade will be the new guy. He will take the new mystique, and he'll be the guy that everybody questions and talks about and whatever. And so,
well, you gotta go back under the hood, man.
Well, they gave him. It's weird though that they gave him this promo. There was no Rey on the show. Andrade wasn't in a match.
Mm-hmm.
Vega wasn't in a match.
Were they in their gear?
I want to say he was, but she wasn't. Or he was in the thing where, like, he used to. I don't know if he still does, but the baggy white pants and the white shirt.
Oh yeah.
I think he was wearing that. I can't remember exactly, but it was just one of those things. I was like, well, like, are they? But next is the main event, so why are they doing this here now? Other than like, hey, we just got to put you on TV. We got to fill time, whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
They had Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan in a non-title match. I actually enjoyed this match quite a lot.
It seemed like they would have good chemistry together.
Yeah, and it was fun. It wasn't too over the top. Again, a lot of times when they do these matches, it's a non-title match. So that it doesn't really matter if Jeff Hardy wins or not. So you're pretty sure that he's going to win. That's why it's a non-title thing, right? Or it'll be a DQ schmaz thing. Rowan will get involved. Whatever. All the other guys are going to come running down. You expect that kind of thing. But a lot of times when they do those, then they try to just do like hit the big moves so everybody knows the big moves, so that when you get into the Elimination Chamber match, you know what to expect. So you're going to see the twist of fate. You're going to see the will o' the wisp. You're going to see like all that stuff happen. And there's usually, again, not a lot of psychology to it. It's just like we want to show you the moves and tell you what they're called and let you see how they play out, so that when you're watching that match later on, you can recognize the stuff and react to it. But I thought the guys actually put on a fairly decent match, like as far as it being thought out and paced, and delivered on television as a product, as a standalone product for the show. I thought it was a great match.
I think Brian always wants to deliver whoever he's in the ring with, so I feel like that falls more on Brian's shoulders of that being a good match over Hardy, because Hardy has a tendency to just be kind of sloppy and unconventional when you think about it compared to most. Right.
So it did go for a DQ. Like you said, you expect this type of thing. So Jeff Hardy, he hits the twist of fate. He gets the swanton bomb. Rowan pulls him out of the ring. They get the DQ, and no Febmon. Eminem Blizzard is not the perfect. The perfect is Butterfinger. Everybody knows that. So you miss out.
I would agree.
So then Brian gets his label lock on Hardy. So Samoa Joe comes down, attacks Rowan, puts the coquina clutch on Brian. Randy Orton runs out and brawls with Joe. Mustafa Ali came out, hit a missile drop kick, looked fantastic on Joe and Orton. Everybody did a dive on Rowan. Rowan caught Ali, slammed him onto the announce table. AJ Styles came out and is throwing punches and kicks, and everybody is being thrown out. Throws out Hardy. Styles started to go after Daniel Bryan, so Daniel Bryan ran off, and you're left with AJ Styles standing in the ring, doing his hand thing, looking victorious. And you think that that's somehow this is going to end the show, but it cuts to the back to Daniel Bryan, and they're trying to interview him, and he's like, "What the hell? Why are you bothering me now? Like what? Like you saw me just leave, and you're trying to talk to me now." And total heel, total, just enraged in this poor woman's face. And she said, "Rowan's not your bodyguard. He's his friend. Like why is he out there to help you right now? Like what's going on?" And he said, "No, he's just my friend. He's there. He's got my back. He's going to make sure that we're always there for each other," which means, of course, that there's something going to happen between the two of them. And then he
shows up and the Bludgeon Brothers are back.
And then he basically said that he is Captain Planet and he's going to save the planet. And SmackDown went off the air. So I got to say this. Oh, yeah. Someone's up. Yeah. All right. So we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up here.
No, they'll head that outside here in a sec.
But we are done with SmackDown. I will say, like 2 weeks ago when I sat down to start watching all this stuff, I thought for sure by now I'd be pulling out veins and stabbing jugulars and arteries and whatever, and
just being a straitjacket, and you'd have bags under your eyes.
But I gotta say, these are not as terrible. And I don't know if it's just because I found bright spots to get me through it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm starting to see, like, hey, there are these moments that obviously I like more, so I just focus on them more, and I'm getting through it. Yeah. Maybe it's because I took so much time off that, like, 5 hours is a lot of wrestling. But at one point in time, I used to watch a lot more between WCW and WWE and ECW and New Japan and like all the other stuff I used to watch. So it's not. But taking time off completely and then coming back, maybe it's just like, I haven't been overexposed to the WWE product for so long, or maybe it just has gotten better. I mean, maybe Vince really did realize something 2 months ago or a month ago, whatever it was, and said, we really do have to change the way we do shows. And maybe that's why the shows have gotten better. I don't know. But I have to say that I don't hate it as much as I expected to at this point.
Are you doing something else though while you're watching the shows? Like, is it kind of in the background and you're kind of like glancing over? Or,
no, I've been trying to not do that. And like last night, for instance, today is Wednesday. It's New Comics Day. All the new comics came out today. I actually get all of mine on Tuesday night beforehand. So usually I would come home Tuesday night and read all my new comics. But I was trying not to do that because I was watching SmackDown. So I actually spent more time focused on the screen and keeping track of what was happening. And I do have a laptop there to take notes, but I'm not checking my email. I'm not posting stuff on the website. I'm not, doing all this other stuff. I'm trying to stay focused just on the wrestling show.
Oh man, all the power to you. I figure if I was in that position, I would already just be like, just checking out my phone. Oh, what's that? Okay.
About the only thing anymore that's Googling is like when I like Mustafa Ali, I was like, okay, so like, who is this guy? Like, did he wrestle under another name that I might recognize? So I went out and like did a search. Like, no, I don't really see anything else. It's like, all right. And then I went back to paying attention to the show. So really, it's only stuff like that. So like I said, I am trying to stay more focused on the show.
It is only week 2. We still got
yes.
What Michael Cole said. I think we're about 61 nights away from WrestleMania. So we got a while. What was the better show in your opinion this week?
SmackDown.
Yeah.
SmackDown. Well, the main event was obviously better. The Mustafa Ali Randy Orton match, like I said, that was just a great thing for what it needed to be. I think the Triple H, Charlotte, Becky segment was better than the Ronda, Becky, Stephanie stuff.
I would hands down agree with that. There's something more that Triple H can bring to the table that Stephanie just can't do. See, Triple H can at least now, being head of NXT, but still being that authority figure, sort of like switch between the two. Whereas anytime Stephanie's on TV, you're just like, all right, like,
like, why are you there?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be there. Yeah. Fedmon asked, was I watching with a bowl of nachos and a cold Coke while sitting in my recliner? Okay, first of all, dude, I don't have a recliner. It's just a comfy chair because it's a chair I have to be able to sit up in so I can read my comics, okay? Besides, the recliner broke and I had to replace it. So, but then, no, it was not Coke. I had cold Bitburger beers from Germany, and so I was drinking those.
All right.
I've been in this kick like the last couple months of all German and Belgian beers. It's been a thing, and sometimes a sour French beer, just because. And then a bowl of nachos. No, sadly, we're out of chips right now. So the only thing I had to snack on was ham and cheese. So I made a sandwich at one point during the show, ham and cheese sandwich, but that was it. So yeah. But anyway,
there's cheese in there somewhere.
There was cheese. There was. I'm cheesy. What can I say? So you watched wrestling a little more regularly the past couple years, though. Do you feel like these shows are better than they have been, or does this feel like it's pretty much the standard that they've been from, everything you've paid attention to?
It's tough. I would say that overall, the talent pool is immensely better, but the way that they format their shows is still the same and hasn't changed. And it goes back to if they would let more of these guys show themselves turned up to 11 and be those characters, I feel the product as a whole would be a lot better. But they're still sticking to the same thing. Like, even if you look at the beginning of the shows, it's
that same format where you open with the 20-minute promo.
Well, not only that, but even at the very beginning too, it's like pan the crowd and then zoom out, show where we are, and that's like the same thing. And that's all Kevin Dunn's fault. But
and no pyro. I miss the pyro.
AEW is promising pyro.
But one thing, I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh no, here it was. Okay, yeah, you were talking about guys and taking their personality and turning it up to 11. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a sucker for gimmick names. So like EC3, like, that's okay. Like, that's not really his name. His name is not Ethan Carter III, but they're calling him EC3, not Ethan Carter, right? Yeah. And I like EC3 as a gimmick, like Triple H. Like, I like that there's a team called Heavy Machinery. It's not Otis and Tucker. Tucker. Yeah, it's not Otis and Tucker. It's Heavy Machinery. Yeah. I like that they're and I mean, granted, I always worked under a gimmick. My gimmick was the professor. I was Professor Philip H. Dempsey because Philip H. Dempsey makes the initial PhD. Yeah. So I was always the professor or PhD. So I like those gimmicks, and I like having that stuff. And it seemed like as soon as UFC started to take off, and became this big thing that suddenly was overshadowing WWE, they really made this push for just dudes in short, small tights with a name. And that was it. You didn't have a lot of guys playing guitars. You didn't have a lot of guys, with a crazy name, or guys under masks, or people that look like they just broke out of the insane asylum. All powers to the Divas for having that gimmick. You didn't have a lot of those gimmick characters and personalities. And the thing was, especially when we worked in indie wrestling, you're working in front of a crowd of 500 people, and you're coming up with characters and names for people. You got to make them somehow memorable, but you want to make that person comfortable in it. So like you said, you take something, you turn it up to 11, but you turn it up to 11 and then build a character. So like, you had a guy who liked to watch sports, who liked to drink beer, thought it was fun, to get physical a little so often. He wanted to become a wrestler. So his gimmick became that he was a frat boy and his name was Toga Steve. And he came out to the ring wearing a toga and carrying a paddle. And he would take off the toga and set the paddle down, and then he would wrestle heel. So if he wanted to, he'd grab that paddle and smack when somebody wasn't looking. So he was a character, but the character was his personality turned up. Yeah. But still that character. And I love characters. I don't care, they kind of like Randy Orton's the Viper. And it's like, okay, whatever. But, a lot of these guys, it's like Mustafa Ali. I like him. He's a talent, but they need to find a character because there's only so long that you can just be this dude called Mustafa Ali. Because eventually at some point, obviously you don't want him to go down the route of, what was that other guy that would come out with like the terrorists?
Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah, Muhammad Hassan. You don't want to go that route. But like, Mustafa, he could be the king. He could be he could be the lion. Mustafa the lion.
I don't know. I feel like once you do that, it's almost kind of worse.
Yeah, but to just have a guy, and the guy is fighting, you're like, that's cool, whatever. And then he turns heel.
I think some it works and some it doesn't.
Well, and I'm not saying that gimmick is the perfect one for him. I'm just throwing that out as like off the top of my head example.
No, I mean that's what Vince would do because it's perfectly stereotypical.
Well, no, he would go the terrorist route. He would have him be the leader of, but he wouldn't say ISIS. He would be Sissy, SISI, right? Yeah. But like I said, I just like that idea of gimmicks and monikers. And something more, and maybe with Mustafa Ali because he's new and he's just off 205 Live, and they're just now introducing him to the crowd. You let him play for a while, and you let the crowd kind of dictate where it goes. And I'm fine with that because he is a fresh talent. And sometimes if you brand a guy as soon as he appears, then it does. You're like I don't know this guy, who cares, right? But once he gets going and he gets himself a moniker and a nickname, then you push it. Randy Orton is the Viper. He was the Legend Killer. Like you've got some sort of gimmick beyond the fact that he's just like the son of a guy who wrestled and the nephew of a guy who wrestled. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that what I'm seeing in WWE is more of those character types reappearing, and I'm hoping that they play with those more. So I like, now some people like Alexa Bliss, you can't really, she is very plain cheerleader, bossy girl. I don't really know what you can really do with her.
That is what they had her doing in NXT at first.
Because she was a cheerleader in real life. I mean, that was her thing. Yeah. It's funny, and actually, I'll just mention this briefly. For a while, I worked at a comic book shop. It got bought out by somebody else. He turned it into more of a bookstore, and it had magazines and newspapers brought in by the newsstand. And so we used to get American Cheerleader magazine. And so that was what Alexa Bliss was on the cover of, when she was just a normal person. And so I saw American Cheerleader magazine, and I was like, okay, I guess 12-year-old girls want to see this thing and see who the number one cheerleaders at the college level are. I guess this is a thing, whatever. You know who bought American Cheerleader magazine? It wasn't girls. It wasn't cheerleaders. It was the creepiest 40-year-old dudes coming in, buying that thing, looking at 12 to 19-year-old cheerleaders doing their practice and all the news in the world of cheerleading. So that's probably the crowd that has followed with Alexa Bliss over into WWE. So congratulations on that one, WWE. But anyway,
she's like Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad, quasi ripoff. I don't know what they're doing with her right now because she's doing
but she did just kind of random gimmicks for a while because she did the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger.
Oh yeah, when she was managing Buddy Murphy and what's the other guy's name? I can't even remember.
The other guy, yeah, I don't. But like even on NXT, the Chinese Pirate, just the fact that they would let this woman come out dressed as a pirate, and she doesn't have to do the Paul Burchill thing. She doesn't have to like like look down at the camera and do the little wink and whatever, and then swing out on the rope, you know, to land on the stage. Like that takes it too far and looks dumb, you know. But to just like let them like dress up and kind of play with it a little bit as part of their entrance, whatever, and it's like fun, whatever, throwing a couple moves that are, you know, pirate themed just to have some fun and play with it. But yeah, so I do like seeing those characters, and maybe that's because there's more of that coming back as opposed to just being dudes in their underwear, oiled up, fighting each other because UFC was so big for so long. Maybe that's why I'm enjoying it.
You should watch NXT. There's a lot more of that.
Maybe, except here was the problem when I tried to watch the window. When I tried to get into NXT was the window where they kept pushing Tyler Breeze, and I don't like Tyler Breeze. I don't
really
watch Tyler Breeze.
I like Tyler Breeze.
I can't. There's something about him that just makes my skin crawl. I just don't want to watch Tyler Breeze.
He's good talent. I like him.
He needs a new gimmick. They should come up with some other gimmick. You know, here's the thing. They should do a fake car crash angle, do the face, have him come out in a Mankind mask covering it up, or a Kane mask, or something, Brutus Beefcake mask, and they can play it off of that and let that be his gimmick for a while to cover his face and have him go crazy. And he and what's her face can be a tag team, intergender tag team. They can do something with that, but I just don't. I don't know his whole like I'm an Instagram model thing. It's like
Well, they kind of strayed away a bit with him and Fandango. They were like the fashion police, and they dressed up like cops, and they were handing out citations to people in the back. I think you would like that better.
That, you know, and I kind of remember that vaguely, and that I don't think I hated as much as the selfie stick. And I didn't really, but the thing was in the ring too, he was one of those guys that was really floaty, like a Dean Ambrose, where a lot of his moves just didn't look like they had much weight to them. They didn't look like they really connected. They didn't have a lot of impact and force. And so his matches, I think, felt more like bad choreography as opposed to a wrestling match.
Okay.
So
I haven't honestly seen a ton of Tyler Breeze matches to really pay a lot of attention to that, but give NXT a shot now. I really think you would enjoy it quite a bit.
Well, and is that on the network or is that on TV?
Yeah, no, it's on the network.
It's on the network. Okay, so I do have the network, you know, for this experimental podcast. So I sometime before Raw, I will watch NXT from this week. We'll talk about it next week, and we'll see how.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say either that, or if you get extra time too, go back and watch that takeover that they did before the Rumble.
Yeah, and like I said, I've always heard the takeovers are good. I just never really got into them. So, all right. Well, anything else you want to add before we go off the air this week?
No. Should I plug all the other shows? Before we do that, check out the Beyond Retro podcast. You can find us now at youtube.com/Beyond Retro Podcast. We finally hit 100. We went well over 100 because Joe was like, I'm going to promote this random old episode that we did, and everyone flocked to it. And they're like, oh, hey, I'm not subscribed. I can be number 100. So I guess maybe he was thinking ahead on that. I'll play to that. Who will be number 100? You'll win nothing. But yeah, you guys check that out. Check out Capes and Commentaries also on that channel. And check out Fans of Power, the Master Universe podcast hosted by Tyler Baker, Joe Amato. And I'm on there periodically as well. And that is at youtube.com/Fans of Power podcast. That's all I got, I think.
What about Capes and Commentaries?
I mentioned that it was on the Beyond Retro channel.
Yeah, but you didn't give it the same amount of time as you gave the other ones. You just kind of
because I mean, Capes and Commentaries are just videos that exist also on the Beyond Retro podcast channel. And I mean, I do my video game streaming on there as well, and I get drunk pretty much most of the time.
You do get.
I do.
And if I tell you you're not getting drunk enough, then you drink more, which is more entertaining for me. So.
I do not. I purposely don't go back and watch any of those because I'm like, I don't.
Well, and the thing was, the first time you did one, I actually put it on the site and promoted it like a regular thing.
Yeah.
And then I went back and watched it, and I was like,
yeah.
These are on the YouTube channel, but we're not going to draw a lot of attention.
Yeah. No, it's best not to. I always look at it. I almost thought about changing it to a thing. It's like if you're there live, you caught it live, and then I would just like make it to where it's not visible to anybody else. Because I don't know, man. Some of them I go back and I'm just like, what am I talking about? Why am I telling everybody that I love them? Why did I go on this big long rant about how people just need to be nice to each other?
Or you went on a rant for like a half hour about how Mario Kart on Super Nintendo cheats, and then you get mad at your girlfriend and you're yelling at her. And then she's like, what did I do? And you're like, I'm just frustrated because Luigi is getting 5 stars in a row on a single course.
Yeah. I need to look into that a little bit better. I need to figure something out. We might have to reformat that show. Maybe just not have alcohol on it.
But anyway, you can catch all those shows at popculturenetwork.com, or we have a new URL you can use if some people, if just typing out Pop Culture Network is too long, or maybe you're just drunk, you can type out thepopc.net. and it'll take you right there. And in fact, that'll work for any link on the website. If you want to link directly to something and you, for whatever reason, you know what the link is, but you don't want to type out popculturenetwork.com, you can type out thepopc.net/whatever the link is, and it'll work just the same.
You've thought it all through.
I sometimes get in a spot in my head where I have to figure out how something works. And then once I do, then I have to figure out how to implement it. And then I have to, and then I do. So that's what happened with that. I'm kind of in a spot now where I might start making new video intros for everything. I don't know. It's one of those rabbit holes I don't like. I used to do it several years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking I might want to jump down that rabbit hole and just start making 1,000 new video intros for everything.
I feel like this show has sort of like pulled a lot of that out of you now. You're ready to go again.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a shame because then I'll start doing podcasts and stuff again, and people will watch them, and then I get noticed when I go out in places, and that's weird, and I don't always like it.
That hasn't happened to me yet.
Oh, and it's weird. Like, it's awkward when it happens, let me tell you, because there'll be times, like, especially if you go to a convention, if you go to like a comic book convention or something like that, and then someone's just like, hey, Dirt, and you're just like, hey, I don't know who you are.
I'm such and such in the chat. Oh, okay.
Well, no, sometimes you don't even get that. They're like, I love the show, and you're just like, why? Because we're terrible. Like, what? Like, why are you? I don't understand why people watch this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they
do. I think the same things when I get messages from people. It's like, man, you guys are great, and I love them. Like, really? Are you sure? Are you sure?
And then the weird thing was, one time we really got into the software for a while, where everybody who watched the live stream or downloaded the podcast or came to the website, the software would like keep track of where people were logging in from, and what they were reading or watching or listening to. And so we started noticing that like people within Hasbro were coming and watching all the toy reviews. And we could see that like people that were at the same IP address as like Marvel Comics were coming and watching the comic book review show. And then you start like getting into your head, like, wow, these are the people that make this stuff, and they're watching our stuff, and they're watching it at work. Like, are they showing it off to other people at work?
They're probably just sitting there like, man, this is terrible.
They're like, who are these idiots? Like, but you never like, are they using our trademarks? Because then we're going to sue. We better watch this.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where sometimes, it's just like your mind starts to get in and you get really deep and you start digging into all this stuff. And you're like, what keywords can I put in the metadata at this timestamp in order to get more people to watch this video? And then it's like, whoa, okay, back up, slow down. Because now the big thing is when you put a video on YouTube, you have to put those keywords in at the bottom of the YouTube. You want to put in like as many keywords as possible. It used to be the opposite on YouTube. Yeah. If you put too many of them, then YouTube would say your video is not as important to these things. So it would show up at the bottom of a lot more stuff, but it wouldn't show up as important on stuff that really was key. Well, now it's the opposite. Now YouTube is set up. If we briefly, like, we mentioned TNN, so I should put the Nashville Network in the keywords underneath the video, because that'll make it pop up in something else on YouTube. Like, that's the thing now, is you put 250 tags on your video on YouTube to make it show up. And it's like, I hate like learning about this stuff, because then it's like
hashtag everything.
Yeah, because then you guys like, all right, so now I got to sit there. So now I'm typing in like Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Brock
Mean Mark.
It's like, what kind of sable nip slip? No, I won't do that.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's like your brain gets into those places you got to back out every so often. So I'm going to try not to go crazy on this show, but I will say Fedmon keeps throwing out ideas, Beyond Retro Cooking, the Beyond.
Oh yeah. We were thinking about doing some of that stuff, popping on the channel, doing a live stream.
What about the Nathan versus Dirt Pants Off Dance Off?
No, I'm good. Dirt wins.
What if we use that just as a tag? So then at some point,
then I would like to see like what IPs would be like dinging from somewhere, checking that out.
It's Romania. It's always Romania. All right. So anyway, that's going to do it for the show, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget popculturenetwork.com or thepopc.net. You can find all of our great shows, all of our terrible shows,
all of the news and reviews and everything else that we throw out there, guys. So that's going to do it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
You don't have a tag? You don't have a
I don't got a tagline for this.
You got to work on it. Pants off, dance off. See you next week.